outer space. So cover and duck, you're out of luck, we don't give up. Yeah, we're going up, next floor is us, you're riding with us. I want you to get on your feet. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Come on, get loose with the heat. Right now, leave the body till we black out. So get the fuck up.
Green, go! It's time for the Canadian Grand Prix. Gary's now attacking exit Tibbs into turn one, and does he get up the inside? He does.
I'm just calling to say
What a start to this race for Gary. 131, who's going to look up the inside of the corner that Dan despises and can't get it done. Second race is Leon Ferdy on the inside and tapped round, and that is the yellow flag. Is he out of this race? Then to the outside of Fury. He's not going to make that one work. Will he get the chicane right this time? Fury gets it horribly wrong, gets a poor run out of the chicane.
I'm just calling to say
Gentlemen, and welcome to Simplay Motorsport, here for the qualifying of the Singapore Grand Prix here at The Formula 2's only 9 drivers so far. Forzy had to retire, might miss the feature race. We hope to get him in for might miss the sprint, hopefully get him in for that feature race as we go into this one. Then on board Craigie for tonight's qualifying lap, as we hope to see a fantastic lap. 8 drivers means that the top 8 will score points in this first race, and they'll all score points for the feature race, because that is how it works here. What a disappointed turnout as well. It's a shame that people haven't been able to get on tonight to let us know early enough as well. In terms of the points championship, then it's Unorthodox who leads the way from Big Boy Brazier. 21 points, the difference, Dan to Jamie. Gary, 53 back with Forzy, 69 behind. Lucas Roth, not here tonight, he is on holiday. He was one of the drivers to let us know early enough, is on 67. A. Smith, 63, might leapfrog him. PM Motorsport 62, and currently second place out there at the moment with Mazda, who is dropped out of all PS4 and PS5 events and therefore has been banned from all PS4 and PS5 events here at Simplay Motorsport due to constant retirements in championships. Fury, 39 points. He's not here tonight, still having clamp issues on his steering wheel from ACC Thursday night. No Rabbit Joe. Leon Fernie's on 32. Craigie, 31. No DJ Phil. He's tied with Smoky Devil on 21 apiece. No Bozzy Boy. No Sutty Apex. Tibbs on 2. No Bryn. No Shane. And in the Constructors' Championship, Carlin lead the way. 26 points clear of Pramer. 57 clear ART, High Tech 115 behind with Trident, 168 behind. Trident cannot win the championship as from tonight because they need to outscore Carlin by a lot of points, and none of their drivers here for this one. Virtuosi Racing 58, Campos on 53, HWA Race Lab 31, Charoux on 5, Dams on 2, and MP Motorsport on 1. What a disappointed turnout though. We are coming to the end of our qualifying lap. It is Unorthodox, who is 2 seconds clear of Leon Fernie, from Gary from PN, from Smithy, from Exit Tibbs, from Craigie, from Smoky Devil. I'm sure Dan is going to be in for an absolutely enthralling night of racing, because he is that fast and that quick at the moment that what is he going to do? 10 people currently watching, 3 likes on the stream. Hit that thumbs up button if you do like what you see here. Apologies to the fans and the viewers for not having a better show than this one. We do apologise for this, and our drivers hopefully will be back next week, ready to go. And it's a shame to see 3 races from the end that the drivers are just starting to not turn up. So who will win this race? Unorthodox, Gary 131, Leon Fernie, or PN Motorsport? Let us know in the chat who you think will win this race as we head into it then for the first time this evening. A very good evening to you all. Let's hear from you in the chat, because we may need a chat tonight. We may need the chat to sort of save tonight. We may need the chat to help us out and to get us to the very end and to see us through in the comment section. Then 345 subscribers. We're 5 subscribers away from that magic, from the magic 350, and what a job that would absolutely be. Honestly, that would be fantastic to see that actually happen. As we get ready then to go racing here in this one. Apparently the stream could not be created. I'm not quite sure what is happening here. We are still live, so we are still good to go then. And Forzy's car hasn't yet moved. It would be on pole position, but he's not going to make this first race. So the telemetry lap data, let's get up the detail of what tyres drivers are on, and the track map. Let's get on to the full then. So here we go then for the first race of the evening. Like I say, might need you in the chat here to really sort of be loud and proud in this chat, because it could be a very, very long evening with no one in the chat. So let's hear from you. Hope your weekend's been well. What have you been up to? What are you up to currently? Anything interesting in this hot, hot weather? Hope you've all been keeping nice and cool and safe and ready to go. So it will be Smoky Devil. Forzy should retire from this. It will be Smoky Devil from Craigie, from Tibbs in this first race of the evening. Obviously we had planned to have radicals on Tuesday night. That doesn't look like it's going to happen due to the fact we didn't get the numbers for it. So it might be a case of just ACC on Thursday night this week. So keep your eyes out for that one. But we hope you all are doing fantastic this evening. The vote currently going the way of PM Motorsport in the chats. That is great to see in terms of this race win. Smoky Devil's been disqualified. That's why the camera hasn't panned round. So who's going to do what in this race? This is the biggest question. Who will do what? PN's been disqualified from the session. As it does look like the soft tyre is the driver's preference at this moment. They are coming towards the end of the lap, and I say they are 2 by 2 by 2. Here we go then. What are we going to expect from tonight's race? 1 vote for Gary, 33% of the votes for Dan, none for Leon Fernie, or 1 for Leon Fernie now, 43% for PM Motorsport. In this one then. So we are about to go racing. And I hope that Forzie's car will not be in the way and will not be a nuisance. It is a shame to see such a small grid. Such a shame that the drivers haven't got on or haven't informed us until last minute. But either way, we're going to put on a show here for you in Simplay Motorsport. The lights come on now. It's green and go, and Forzie pulls right out the way as he is now going to be towards the back end of the grid. He will not be racing this race, and it is Craigie from exit Tibbs into turn 1. Yellow flag as Forzie's retired. That is a car around that. He's Smoky Devil, who's had a spin already. PM Motorsport up to 7th. Dan's already up into 5th place. Ahead of him is Gary 131, who is side by side with his teammate, and Tibbs looking up the inside of Craigie, and Craigie just squeezing him there. And there's Gary and Smithy getting squeezed as well, and the teammates now, I think they've both got a bit of front wing damage, but lead this race. Unorthodox down in 5th place. What a shame to see. A brilliant track like Singapore, and in the daytime as well. Could have been an absolutely fantastic race. Instead, we've got this. A. Smith from Gary. Exit Tibbs trying to come through with Leon Fernie 4th. Dan staying right out the way here in P5. And that is Tibbs and Leon Fernie who have hit the wall and come together. And how Dan gets through that, I do not know. But that puts Craigie now on the back of Tibbs, hopefully, with PM Motorsport. And Leon Fernie, that is Craigie. And PN who have made contact, and Leon Fernie getting caught out in that one. And Smoky Devil gains a couple of places then as Smithy from Gary in this race, a 2.5 seconds up the road from this man Unorthodox, who's got Tibbs right on the back of him here. 24 racing laps. That's a good long night, isn't it, when you've only got 9 drivers or 8 drivers on the grid. Couldn't retire the car during the formation lap. Sorry, says Forzie. That's fine, Forzie, but you're out the way now, hopefully to see you in the feature race. As Tibbs here, a little deep and a little wide. Gary now putting the pressure on his teammate. His teammate never had a race win here at Simplay Motorsport. Would look for his first race win. As here comes Gary. Yellow flag, sector 3. That, I believe, was Leon Fernie. Because he's very slow. He's got a lot of front wing missing then, so he may have to pit. And Gary then does the fastest lap of the race and gets himself past his teammate Smithy. And now Smithy will be the blockade for Unorthodox. Yellow flag, sector 3 once again. That is Tibbs, who's crashed at the pit entry. And Craigie and Leon Fernie have to avoid exit Tibbs here, who can't get it out the wall. 5-second penalty for Tibbs as well for a collision. But back to this battle at the front. Now Tibbs has got another 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It has not gone the way Tibbs would have wanted this first race of the evening. There's 3 drivers all in the pits, and it's already a bit of a... Gary's pulled a 1.5 seconds over Smithy. He's nearly 2 seconds clear of Dan. Smithy doing the job he needs to and just keeping Dan behind him. 1.8 seconds the gap. Smithy to Gary. So Dan nearly at that 2-second marker. Dan just having a look at Smithy but can't seem to find a way through. Dan looks quicker on the straight. Smithy though Looks a bit better through the corners than Dan. Dan just losing a bit of time as we're on board Smithy here then. Dan 2 tenths behind him. Craigie and Leon Fernie out the pit. Smithy very deep and unorthodox. Has a look at a run. Evening to Tracy in the chat. Come on Tibbs, she says. Well, Tibbs, not the best of starts to this race. Yellow flag, sector 2, that is Smoky Devil, who's gone straight on, and that'll give PM Motorsport another place and a top 4 for PN here at the moment. Leon Fernie's coming with Craig here second behind him. Tibbs out the pit lane and 9 seconds off the back. This battle though, Smithy to Dan. Dan looking up the inside to come under the bridge and decides wisely to tuck back underneath. 12 people currently watching. Guys, girls, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified. ACC Thursday night, 8 PM BST, and then Suzuka for the F2 7:30 BST next week. And then unfortunately I'm away for work the week after, so Australia, the final race of this F2 season, will come delayed 1 week. Gary is now 2.6 clear of Dan, and Dan just can't find a way past Smithy here, and Smithy just doing a cracking job. This is the closest battle on track. When you've only got 8 cars, what do you expect? Let's go back to Dan then, as Dan here doing absolute bits at the moment. Apologies about that. Dan doing absolute bits to try and get on the back of Smithy. And DRS is open now, lap 3 of 24, and Dan's now going to have a look at Smithy. Into the right-hander Dan goes, and that is job done. Can Smithy come back at Dan? This will be nice if Smithy can come back at him, because Gary now has a 3-second gap. And no, Dan has already sailed into the sunset, so that was very, very short-lived there. Smithy still trying to stay within a second of him. Yellow flag, sector 2, who's that? That is Smoky Devil, who has no front wing, it looks like there. So Leon Fernie, yeah, Smoky Devil, no front wing. Leon Fernie some 30 seconds behind. Oh, he's just clipped the wall. So Leon Fernie then struggling, Smoky Devil, sorry, struggling, and will have to pit for a new front wing, because that car is going to become a bit hard to drive here. And you just hear that car just kind of purring as it comes through the corners, low on revs and low on speed, because of the fact that it's going to be so hard to handle for Smoky Devil. He's got to tiptoe this around. Gary sets another fastest lap. Dan then beats it. Dan, this lap, has already halved the deficit to Gary. Smoky Devil then coming under the bridge. Just look at how he's tiptoeing around here, just to get this back to the pits. Leon Fernie's gained 9 seconds this lap already, and the car just does not want to turn for Smoky Devil. Let's hear from you in the chat, because this is how the night's going to go. We're going to need to hear from you in the chat, otherwise it's going to be a very, very long evening. And the Smoky Devil into the pits. You don't need to stop in the sprint race, but for Smoky Devil, he's felt the need to. For Leon Fernie, he's now in the wall, coming under the bridge. Tibbs, just behind him now, has a chance to maybe get on the back with DRS and get past. Leon Fernie, once again, some bad wing damage. Either way, for these 8 drivers, it is going to be points in this race. As Leon Fernie pulls into the pits, his teammate's still in the pits. In fact, though, he's now away. So Tibbs up to 7th, will be well ahead of Leon Fernie, as this man now has Dan gaining all over the back of him here. And this will be great to see, this battle. So Smoky Devil has pitted. He's now got a fresh front wing. Leon Fernie's now in the pits. That's his 2nd stop in this race, and you don't need to pit in the sprint race, as Dan just looks a lot quicker than Gary here. Tibbs can do it. Well, he's going to gain some more points. Can he get past Craigie? We'll just stay with this battle for the time being. We'll keep our eyes on the timer. Tibbs, Dan sets another fastest lap of this race. And here comes Dan, has a look at Gary, but is not close enough to make a move just yet. Yellow flag, sector 2. That is Smoky Devil once again facing the wrong way. Still got his front wing, I do believe. Yes, he has, but has had a moment somewhere, and that is a yellow flag sector 2. And these two are actually close to lapping Leon Fernie and Smoky Devil. Leon Fernie got a podium last week. What a change of fortune for him. As Dan gets within 3/10 of Gary, but Gary just able to hold on to it at the moment. And it's going to be about who's going to do what in this race. It really is. No Jamie Brazier, so this really gives Unorthodox the upper hand in the championship. And Dan now really pressuring the back of Gary 131. Go on, Little Smith, says Smithy in the chat. As here comes Dan, really pressuring the back of Gary 131 now. Just being patient, buying his time here is Unorthodox, who will have the feature race pole, let's not forget. Evening though, Smithy, Tracy, Forzy, PN, hope you're all well. Obviously PN can't chat at the minute, he's currently driving in 4th place. As Dan there just bounces off the wall a little bit. Evening Matt, you legend. No, you the legend, you're the GOAT. There's a lot of front wing there. Who is that? That has got to be Smoky Devil's lost an end plate. So has Leo Fernie's lost a lot of wing there. As back to his battle out front, Gary in that final sector just has gapped down a little bit. Yellow flag sector 2, that is Craigie, who's gone well off, and Tibbs now up into P5. Craigie carries on his way. Bit of wing damage, back to the front, 2/10 the gap. Here's Dan, looking all over the back of Gary 131 as they come up to the DRS detection zone. These two have had many a battle here at Simplay Motorsport. As Dan now looking to pull up the inside of Gary, but left it late and chooses not to do so. Smithy already 6 seconds behind Dan, so Dan has just absolutely gone here. Smithy's brought that gap down a little bit here, so can Gary sort of play a devil's advocate and get Smithy to come back at the front too? Tracy, yes, keep it cool, Tibbs, she says in the chat. Tibbs has got 47 seconds to PN and has a time penalty. He's got to make sure he gets Craigie enough with the time penalty then. As this last sector seems to be, or coming into the last sector, seems to be where Gary has his best chance. Dan in DRS, going to the outside of Gary 131 and can't get nothing done there. As Gary's defending very well, yellow flag sector 1, Tibbs! Oh, he's retired! He's lost a wheel and we've got a safety car. Leon Fernie is retired now. He's gone straight into the wall. Now they'll both score points. For Leon Fernie, it'll be 8th place. For Tibbs, it will be 7th. Yeah, it will be 7th because Smoky Devil will get past. There is the feature race, so they still have the feature race to go, but we're down to 6 drivers. Gary is gonna pit, as is Smithy, and I think this is a good call from the team. Fresh soft tyres, redo the wing. Tibbs and Leon Fernie have both crashed out of this race. Smithy will be held. Here comes PN. He will not pit. So Gary then, not yet out the pits, his front tyres are done. He will be behind PM Motorsport here. Gary's only just got away, and now the team are getting ready for Smithy. He could lose out to Craigie. He possibly won't, actually. Craigie is way behind. Gary behind PN. Fresh wing. And has that just gifted Dan yet another race win here in the F2s? So, for Dan, It's potentially race win number 44 here at Simplay Motorsport, and potentially one step closer to winning an F2 title. For Gary, he's got PN to clear. Dan, the only man on the safety car at the minute. We will be waiting for this man to get on the back of the pack. Craigie is now in the pits. So Tibbs will finish P7, he will score points. Leon Fernie finishes P8, he will score points. There is the feature race coming up where Tibbs and Leon Fernie have a chance to score even more points, and hopefully we'll have Forzy in that as well. So for Dams now they move to 3. Tibbs is now on 4, he's a point behind Sooty Apex. But for Smoky Devil, he'll go right ahead of DJ Phil. For Craig, he will probably jump Leon Fernie. Leon Fernie is now a point behind Rabbit Joe. PN and A Smith should jump ahead of Lucas Roth. And Gary's just going to get a lot closer to Big Boy Brazier. And again, folks who are watching, we can only apologise for such a poor turnout. Drivers leaving it to last minute. Certain drivers have let us know that they may not be able to make tonight, but others have left it to last minute. Now, interesting then, Dan's pitted, new front wing. So as Dan hits something then, he's dropped to 3rd, so PN Motorsport leads this race. Here comes A. Smith. Dan away now. Smithy will be ahead of Unorthodox here then. So for Smithy, it's P3 at the minute. PN leads the way. Craigie will be waiting on for the safety car. So then, Dan choosing to pit, repair his wing damage. He's come back out P4. Smoky Devil and Craigie are the two drivers we await for. Or will the safety car think about maybe going in early? This is the interesting one to keep an eye on. So we'll stay on board PN Motorsport for the time being. So it's PM Motorsport from Gary, from Smithy, from Dan, from Smoky Devil, from Craigie. We are waiting for them two to get on the back of the safety car. And again, we can only apologise to the viewers for such a poor turnout tonight. Hopefully, this will not be the case next Sunday. So here we go then. Safety car still out on track and is still waiting for Smoky Devil and Craigie. So this is really ticking away here. Tracy, love the commentator, you're a badass. Thank you very much, Tracy, in the comments. I'll tell you what, I might have to get the boys, the kids upstairs to download Formula 1 2021 and tell them to get on it just for another 2 drivers on the grid. So we go into lap 9, nearly starting lap 10. 24 lap race, 34 lap race for the feature race. God, that'll be fun, won't it, with 9 cars on the track. That's going to be an absolute barrel of laughs. So please stick around. Let's hear from you in the comments. Like and subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. We normally have at least 13, 14 drivers on F2. So yeah, let's hear from you. Let's get a conversation in the chat going, especially under the safety car at the moment in time. as we're going to end the poll there. I don't think anyone else is going to vote on that, so we'll end the poll there. Hope everybody's doing well this weekend, though. We're down to 9 drivers. We are awaiting Smokey Devil and Leo and Craigie to get on the back of the safety car. Craigie is still some 38 seconds off the back of the pack. Smokey Devil is 27. Safety car may want to go in soon. Smokey now within 20 seconds. The safety car's coming into the final sector. And it's going to do one more lap, so we get another lap behind the safety car. How many drivers are we expecting in the feature race? Forzy says just the 9. Only 9 of you confirmed on the Discord. Half of the people didn't confirm or confirmed at the very last minute. So here we go then. Smokey Devil will be on the back of the safety car this lap, and I imagine as will Craigie, because Smokey Devil 10 seconds, Craigie 20. I hope the safety car will come into the pits because we'll get a bit of a race going. Here, where is Smokey Devil? There he is. He'll be able to see the back of the pack soon. There is the pack of cars then for Smokey Devil to catch on the back of. PM Motorsport, the man who's done the most laps on his tyres, the only one who's not pitted. As now we await Craigie to gain the back onto the back of the pack. And he can just see the pack when he comes around this couple of bit of wing there. Now then, whose wing is that? It's not PN's, it's not Gary's, it's not A. Smith's, I don't think. No. Is it? It's Dan's. So Dan has clipped something and has got a bit of end plate damage. Safety car will be in this lap. Oh, Smokey Devil, where are you going? As Craigie slows it right down. Now PN controls the pace. Dan has wing damage, and Dan finishing down the order is probably less of a surprise than people not turning up, to be honest with you. But yeah, Dan, though, his closest championship rival is Jamie Brazier, and he's not here. Gary is 53 points behind, so Dan has nothing to lose to Gary 131 tonight. Gary can gain as many points as he wants to and still be well clear. For Dan, though, is it about wrapping this championship up early? Let's wait and see. PM Motorsport is not waiting for that safety car to get into the pit lane. He has gone. And I think the game there has made him slow down a little bit. It has, look, the game has made him slow down because he didn't let the safety car get enough in front. That then bunches the train back up a little bit more. So it's PN from Gary, from Smithy, from Dan. Gary looking up the inside into turn 1, job done. Dan up the inside, and Smithy couldn't get past. And he's Dan with his end plate damage, just going to get caught out here. Smokey Devil in 5th, Craigie in 6th place. But it's Gary from PN now, Smithy to Dan. Let's take a look at this battle. Unorthodox has got a lot to do here. Like, comment and share, says Tracy in the chat. Indeed so. Subscribe as well while you are there, and do so please. Obviously normally we have more drivers than this, so I do apologise once again to the viewers for a lack of drivers out on that grid tonight. And for Dan, Unorthodox, he's trying to get past Smithy but just cannot at the moment, and Smithy will be looking for a way in a moment to get past PM Motorsport. Dan now a second off the back of Gary 131 already, second and a half should I say. So Gary checking out up front. And it'll be race win number 24 for him, as Smithy then goes a little deep and manages to bring it back on the track. And Dan just has to be patient and wait for his opportunity. He knows that Smithy's going to start attacking the back of PM Motorsport. PN here, by the way. What a job this will be. Was that a spot of rain in the air? Now I wonder, and Plover's not been in the chat to see as Craigie's got past Smoky Devil. Little battle there going on in the background. And will Smoky Devil try and come back up the inside? No, he won't. What's happened to PN then? He's lost out, and there is a spot of rain. Hello then. So a spot of rain in the air, and for unorthodox here, P3, and rain around. Now you kind of get a good indication as to when the rain's too much, it will close the DRS or disable the DRS. Will anybody dive into the pits for the wet tyre? Is it just a passing shower, I wonder? Gary, fastest lap of the race. Dan has no answer for that one. Smithy then is defending from Dan. What happened to PM Motorsport? Craig and Smokey well off the back. We'll jump onto their battle in just a moment. Dan looking all over the back though with A. Smith here. Evening to Mummy Davis in the chat. Hope you're doing well, mother. As Dan all over the back of A. Smith at the moment. Back down to Craigie and Smoky Devil. That gap has opened up a little bit. Back to Smithy and Dan then. Dan looking up the inside, thinks better of it, and then chooses to just tuck in and wait. Sits patiently. Definite rain around then here in Singapore. It's Dan there all over the curb. Is Dan just struggling a little bit with that end plate missing on his front wing? Smithy now coming through, and the rain just looks like it's starting to build and get a little worse here. And it's about who can do the better job in these wet conditions. Gary, 3.6 up the road. He's 3.9 up the road from unorthodox. No DRS, 3 laps after a safety car for DRS, so I think it'll be next time round. All good things are very well, thanks, Mother. Great to hear from you in the chat. We need people in the chat like yourself and Tracy, because it's very quiet tonight out there on the racetrack. As Dan all over the back of Smithy still here. This is the closest and only battle on the circuit. And Dan is doing everything he can at the moment to keep this one going. Now, DRS has not yet been disabled. It is now disabled, so now race control think it's wet enough. So for Dan, his advantage of the DRS is now gone. Just as DRS would have opened this lap as well, that is gone. Dan now side by side with Smithy, but on the outside of Smithy. And Smithy just leaving Dan a car's width on the outside there. Gary's now 4.5 seconds clear of this fight. And Dan now jinks to that inside. He's lost his front wing. He has lost half a wing there as Dan. And just as it's coming down with rain, Smithy drives nearly into the back of him. You feel that unorthodox with that broken wing, he's going to struggle like mad. Let's go on board a second. He just cannot get on the power through the corners. He just isn't wanting to turn in or anything for Dan. Where is everyone on the way on from the BTCC? No, it was only 2 drivers at the BTCC. DJ Phil, not sure. Rabbit Joe, again, not sure. Liam at work. Jamie, BTCC. PN got back from the touring cars. Jamie, dunno. He's coming back from the touring cars. Forzy can't make this race, but will make the next race. So it is a show. Obviously, we lost Master. He's dropped out and is therefore banned from PS4. Objective Smoky Devil is in the wall, so that is not where he wants to be. But for Dan, you just see him struggle a little bit. Yellow flag still sector 2. Smoky Devil having to turn it round. Then, so DRS disabled, but it's not, the track's not getting too wet. Gary opting to stay out. Unorthodox opting to stay out. That's an interesting one, as is Smithy, as is PN. Normally when the DRS gets disabled, excuse me, that is an indication, as Craigie has lost half a front wing as well, look, same as Dan. And Smoky Devil, I don't think has a front wing once again. No, he has the same issue as Dan. Gary, 6.1 clear of unorthodox at this moment in time. Dan, though, is just going to start to lose even more time. He lost 3 tenths to Gary, just going through the same corner Gary did. Lost 3 tenths. Coming down this DRS straight then, look at Dan, he'll start to close the time as Gary's in a tight twisty section, 6.4. By the time Dan gets to that, look, Dan 6.3. Back up 6.4. Smoky Devil's in the pits. Will this be the wet tyre for Smoky Devil? Because this could be a great shout for Smoky for a couple more places if it is that wet tyre. As it's getting darker and darker here at Singapore. Let's check the pit stop. It is the wets. Great call, maybe, from the team. Yeah, still got a couple to keep us entertained, Mother Davis. That is exactly right. Now then, Smoky Devil onto that wet tyre and could have played an absolute blinder. Will Gary box this lap? This man, though, is pulling away still from A. Smith. Very slowly, and as this track gets wetter, Danny's going to struggle more. He's lost a lot of time to Gary. He's lost over a second this lap to Gary 131. But is gapping A. Smith. Right, coming to the back end of the lap. Nobody's battling anybody. Smoky Devil back out on track. It still doesn't look too wet. And Gary is going to rightfully stay out on track. It doesn't look too wet. He's going to stay out. 16 people currently watching. Guys, girls, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And hit the bell to be notified. ACC, where there will be 19 or 20 drivers on the grid Thursday night. Already, 7 have confirmed. No one is not confirmed yet. So that is already a positive sign for ACC. So make sure you tune in with Dan Davis, who'll be live with that one. Dan didn't pit, neither did A. Smith, neither did PN Motorsport. What about Craig E here? He looks like he's diving in for that wet tyre. Oh, very, very tricky pit lane to get right. So he's coming in. Will Smokey be able to get past Craig E? He's only coming through sector 2, but Craig E will have a long pit stop with the tyre change and the wing damage as well. Let's go on board. No, staying softs for Craigie. That is very interesting. That one then, yeah, that's a strange call. 5-lap-old soft tyres going on. It is still raining here though, but it's not getting wetter. The rain does look like it's coming down more. Now you start to see the water on the track. Look at Gary. Whoa, tail happy there. Keeps it all together. Now, how much is this man struggling then? Because with half a front wing, Smithy's gaining. Little by little, Smithy is getting closer and closer. Now, for HRT, do they pull the trigger and double stack? We've got Smithy in the background. Hold on to it. Gary, no front wing damage here. Has to box. It's too wet now. I thought Craig E may have pulled an interesting tactic, and he has, and I think it's the wrong one. And Gary's going to stay out. Gary's going to risk it. This man's got a box, you'd have to say. There's been a few wiggles from a few cars. He's got a box. He is. He's coming in. What about Smithy? Smithy also coming in. PN Motorsport. Surely he's going to box. He is as well. See, Gary 131 will lead this race still, and he'll creep even further in front. Smithy's got past Dan. Smithy and Dan now in the box. Dan's rear tyres on. When Smithy's away now. So Dan and PN, you see PN in the background. Look, his tyres on. PN and Dan dropped at the same time. PN's away. And who got out in front? It was just unorthodox. Craigie on the wrong tyre. Gary's got a box, you'd imagine. And Dan just in front of PN Motorsport here then. So PN just needed that little bit more time to be closer to Dan to do him in the pits. PN from unorthodox then, who is some 8 seconds down the road from this man A. Smith, who's 43 seconds behind this man Gary, to Craigie. He's going to box once again for them wet tyres. This man, you'd imagine, will come in as well. Lap 16 of 24. Craigie back in the pits. That could see Smoky Devil get through. We'll have to keep our eyes on Craigie's pit stop. Wet tyres at the ready, no front wing, straight up and down, you'd imagine. Look, oh, tyres off, tyres on. Down he goes, and away goes Craigie. Smoky Devil coming into the final part of the lap. Will not be past Craigie. He's away. Gary 131 will box this lap. 46 seconds to A. Smith, and unorthodox 7.7. Gary now is coming in the pits. So for Dan here, it's been a case of up and down for him. Bit of a yo-yo race. Gary now in the box. And again, to the 13 people watching the stream, we can only apologise for the lack of numbers here tonight. And we do hope there will be more for Suzuka next week. Gary in, Gary down. Smithy only just coming into the third sector. He is away. Dan has PN 3 seconds off the back of him. Is that a wiggle for Dan? Very laggy in Orthodubs is there. Very laggy indeed. So we'll jump off of him. PN has a chance here though. Gary out the pit lane. And for ART, they are cruising to a 1-2. Smithy second place. Dan 6 seconds off the back of Smithy. PM Motorsport 4 seconds off the back of Dan. Craigie a minute down. Has Smoky Devil though on the back of him. Let's keep an eye on this battle. Go on Tibbs in the feature race, says Tracy. Tibbs will definitely be one to watch, I reckon, especially if there's rain around. How good is Tibbs in the wet, I wonder? Smoky Devil and Craigie, wet conditions, just struggling a little bit. Gary has a 23-second gap to his teammate. Six seconds still Dan to A. Smith, and 5.5 now PN to Dan. Piano Tech fourth place, carrying the flag for Pramer. ART are the biggest winners tonight, no matter what you say. ART and I think it's Uni Virtuosi. No, it's Campos, the biggest winners. Campos will go ahead of Uni Virtuosi. Oh, Smokey in the wall! Oh, big wing damage! Just as he was putting pressure on Craigie, he's tapped the wall and spins around. And that will end that. Daddy sideways! Oh, well held! That's not the quickest way around there, but Dan, brilliantly held from him. Could have easily have buried that in a wall and ended his race early, but has not, and will keep going in this one. 5.3 to Smithy. How bad is Smithy struggling? Let's just keep an eye on this man, who is just wiggling his way through the corners. 4.8, he's gaining on Smith just ever so slightly. All on the curb there is unorthodox. PN's 8 seconds behind. $17 people watching, 9 likes on the stream. Guys, girls, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you are new, and hit the bell to be notified. Again, can only apologise for the poor turnout in drivers here tonight, and we hopefully will have near enough a full grid back for next week. We apologise here at Simplay Motorsport once again. Tracy, this track is crazy, absolutely crazy, and I do believe, Tracy, the second race is in the night. It's a night race. The track will be well lit up. You see the track being lit up by the artificial light of the billboards and the electronic signs. As Smithy now, you can just see on the back of him, look who's appearing, lap 18 of 24. There is unorthodox. Smoky Devil, by the way, not yet pitted, has that wing damage and still hasn't pitted yet. So it's Gary from Smithy. Unorthodox currently P3 at the moment. Track's getting wet now. PN 4th, Craigie 5th, Smoky Devil 6th. We lost Tibbs and Leon Fernie, but they finished 8th, so they do score points. But Smithy now, you look in the background and that... Whoa, Dan! Hold it together! He's lost a bit of time to Smithy, but I tell you what, that could have been a lot worse. That could have been in the wall. Watch your back on Thursday, man. I'm coming for you in France, says Emo Guy. Bring it on. Let's hope so. Let's have a good battle. Although I'm not liking the Bentley at Paul Ricard, I must admit. And I'm not the best with setups on ACC, so I'm just kind of learning as we go here. But Dan lost a bit of time to Smithy there. And he's getting his Carling car to dance. 26 seconds, Gary to Smithy. Smithy to Dan, 4.2. And for Dan, they're going to start lap 19. Gary's got a free pit stop here as well. And on board on Orthodox, closest battle. This is on track. PN's 11 seconds behind. Oh, Dan, just all over the curbs there at turn 1 and 2. Here he comes. 3.7 the gap. Dan to this man, Smithy there. Danny's in the background, look. Hats off to Smithy. Less points in the sprint race compared to the feature race. So for Smithy, it'll be good points. It'll put him well ahead of PM. Or just ahead of PN, should I say. It'll put him in front of Lucas Roth as well. PN should go ahead of Lucas Roth. Definitely after the feature race, though. And Gary, this will put Gary now. He's only 32 behind Jamie, so this will put him 22 behind Jamie. Oh, Dan in the background again! Did he hit the wall? No! How has he kept it out? Dan is all over the place at the moment. So Gary could be the one to go ahead of Jamie by the end of tonight. Which would mean, really, that Dan is sailed off into the sunset, because Gary's already 53 behind. Yes, he'll gain points here, but will it be enough? Coach Dave Academy setups are a beautiful thing, says Evil Scotsman. I'll have to have a look and check that out, Ian. Thank you very much for that advice. Dan then, 3.8 off the back of Smithy, but I tell you what, his car is doing all sorts of singing and dancing out here. Gary starts lap 20 of 24, lead of this race, 28 seconds to his teammate A. Smith. Dan then P3, who's got 13 seconds back to PN Motorsport. Where is PN? The camera didn't change to him there. There he is. PN chugging along. Is Craigie and Smoky Devil down in 6th, and you see in the background there a Smoky Devil. Through all the spray. Where is he? There. Gary 131 appears. And that rain just looks like it's slowing down a little bit, maybe. As let's go back on board this man. DRS disabled. Now, I thought it had already been disabled, unless I was saying it was re-enabled after the safety car. Now the stewards clearly think it's too wet for DRS, which I find very interesting. Dan, 2.6 off the back of Smithy. That is how close that battle is now at the moment. And again, once again, we can only apologise for the lack of drivers out there on the track tonight. We hope to have a bit more of a full grid next week. But you come to still enjoy the show. We never disappoint here at Simplay Motorsport. One thing we are going to have to disappoint on is the Radicals will not be appearing Tuesday night. Not enough drivers signed up. So we are going to look at it as an admin team and rechange the drivers. Just remember that if you do go for them, make sure you get the second lot. The third lot are for next gen and PC. Tyre modules only. Thank you very much, Ian, for that advice. I will have to have a look at that one. As an Orthodox now, a second and a half off of A. Smith. And A. Smith, you know, he's driving a good race. He's driving his own race. But he's still carrying on his way. And knows that he's under pressure from the 5-time champion here at Simplay Motorsport. GT5, GTE, and a 3-time Pro Champ is in the wall! He definitely clipped the wall there. There is no damage. Did he clip it with his tyres? Dan was definitely clipping the wall. Just looking on his stream, I've just loaded on my phone now. Very wide, very deep. Yeah, just clipped the wall with 2 wheels. Lucky enough, he didn't go ploughing into that one. So Dan is riding his luck here. Very close once again. In fact, if not, bouncing off the wall a little bit. Yeah, a 5-time champ versus what was a rookie for F1. He's only done F1 and F2 as A. Smith. We're looking to hopefully get him on project cars and see what he can do with his brother there. Gary, lap 21, 29 seconds clear of A. Smith. He's pretty much won this race. He's only going to lose it for himself. He's lapped Smoky Devil. And for A. Smith and Dan then, at this moment in time, it could be an epic battle. 1 point for the gap. Let's just go on board Dan. Let's see how much Dan's struggling. The rain really coming down. And Dan here, you see Smithy up front just struggling to get the traction out the corner. What should we expect to move on to F1 2022? I think it's going crossplay, isn't it, Emo guys? So I think that's going crossplay. I know they're trialling it at the moment, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that. And if it does, as Dan now within that second of A. Smith. No DRS to help him though. And he's just patiently going around, tiptoeing around these corners on the curbs. Now passing in the dry, catching in the dry one thing's passing another in the dry. In the wet, it's a whole different ballgame. And Dan here, oh, you just see that tail stepping out. Yellow flag sector 2-3. That is Smoky Devil. He's out the race. He's had a crash. He's out the race. Safety car here at Singapore. Now, Smoky Devil will get points for 6th place in this one. But a safety car here. So that is Smoky Devil's. Where is he? That was his 105th race. He'll be tied with Smithy after the next one. For Leon Fernie, his son, he's on race number 35. Is that a Maze Gamer? He'll be tied with NJ after the next one, so he's getting close to 50. Time remaining 2 minutes 50 seconds. So this is going to be a timed race. Gary, I do believe, has won this race. The checkered flag has flown and Gary has crossed the line. Smithy then will cross it in P2. I'm just checking Dan's stream here to make sure that this is all true. So Smithy should cross this line P2. Just waiting to see on Gary. He's caught the safe. No, he's passed the safety car. So here comes Smithy then. I believe this race is over. Smithy will get 2nd place. Dan will get 3rd. PN Motorsport then is going to come home for P4. Meaning that Craig E is going to take a P5. And that for Craig is a joint best result of the season. He got 5th in the sprint race last week as well. Don't hold me to that, but I believe that is race done. It is race done. So that then will be all she wrote for the sprint race. We are just waiting on Craig E to finish. And the race is finished behind the safety car. We'll post any updates of crossplay into the Discord as they come out. Cheers, Emo Guy. That'll be brilliant then. So then for Gary, it is another race win. Race win number 24 here at Simplay Motorsport. And his 2nd F2 race win of the season for him. In terms of the championship then, the tables are going to look a little something like this. Dan leads the way, 27 points to Jamie now, so he has extended that gap. Gary, 59 behind somehow. Have I not inputted Gary's results correctly? I have. And he is 59 points behind Unorthodox, somehow. So that then is the end of Craig E. The fastest lap, I do believe, went the way of Gary 131 as well. And that then is the sprint race done. We'll be back in about 5 minutes' time for the feature race.
Getting hype when I aim up, elevating that game up, stepping up to the competition. Only 1st place, and that's how I'm living. with it till they digging up my grave. Eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate. I was born and when I watched me elevate. All in when I show up. Whole place about to blow up. Superior to that competition. I'm in first place, yeah, that's how I'm living. I'm with it till they digging up my grave. Eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate.
Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to get underway for the start of the feature race. Sprint race ended very prematurely due to two safety cars and the time limit going up. Here, though, are your current standings, and this is the way it looks for the drivers, as Dan will start this one on pole position. Then we go to the detail of the tyres. Everybody starting on the soft. So Dan, Leon, Fernie, Gary, PN, A. Smith, Tibbs, Craig E, Smokey Devil and Forsey all out there in this race. Unorthodox 27 points clear of Big Boy Brazier. Gary 48 behind now, so he has brought the gap down to Unorthodox by some 5 points in this race. Forsey, P4, A. Smith now up into P5 ahead of Lucas Roth. He's tied on points with PM Motorsport. Mazda down in 8th, Fury 9th, Craigie 10th, Rabbit Joe 11th, who's been jumped by Craigie, and Craigie should jump Fury in this race. Leon Fernie now a point behind Rabbit Joe. Smokey Devil up above DJ Phil, and then the bottom lot as they was anyway. Carling 27 points clear of Pramer with ART 44 behind now. Bearing in mind Gary, Big Boy Brazier and Unorthodox are the only three that can win the Drivers' Championship. For Carling, Pramer, ART and High Tech, they can all still win the Constructors, but for High Tech, very unlikely in this race unless Forsey outscores Dan by some margin. Then ART 44 behind, High Tech 4th, Trident in 5th, Uni Virtuosi in 6th, Campos Racing a point behind them in 7th, with HWA Race Lab in 8th, Charouz in 9th, Dams 10th, and MP Motorsport bringing up the rear in 11th place then. So we're getting to the end of this formation lap, and it is a race in the dark this time around. And what will Dan do? He's got Leon Fernie alongside him. He's just bashed into the wall, and it's a good job you don't take damage on the formation lap. Here. As we will be lining up in just a moment to get underway. And then Leo Fernie disqualified under the safety car. So it's PN and Gary that will be the first two to line up on the grid. Let's hear from you in the chat. 16 people currently watching, 11 likes on the stream. As the drivers then are about to line up then. Let's go Tibbs, says Tracy in the chat. He starts down in 6th. What can he do in race 1? Is there any weather around, I wonder? as the lights come on. And for the final time tonight, it's green and go for the feature race here in the Formula 2s and in the Marina Bay of Singapore. And a great start from Dan. Leon Fernie already down into third place. PN looks on the inside as Smithy loses out there. And for Smokey Devil and Craigie there to the back of the pack. Tibbs has been overtaken by Forsey. Forsey making his way through as well then, as Gary and Dan are already battling it out. Gary looks around the outside of an Orthodox and Dan has to give him the room on the outside and gives him plenty of respect. And the champions go at it once again. No love lost between these two in recent F2 races, but great friends off the track. And Gary now is going to have that inside line as Leon Fernie stays with him to try and look, and Dan gets the job done. Further down the pack, Forsey and PM Motorsport are having a good little battle, and that is job done. Oh, and Smokey Devil ploughs into the back of Tibbs, who ploughs into the rear of PM Motorsport, and wing damage for the drivers all around. Gary though in the lead of this race from Dan, from Leon Fernie, the top three. Forsey on an absolute charge at the moment. As PN there down in last, Craigie wing damage struggling to get around part of this track. Gary from Dan from Leon Fernie, and it's going to be a case of who can hold their nerve around here and not get the damage. Bit of carnage earlier, Smokey into Tibbs, into PN, causing some wing damage for them three. As Gary goes deep, and Dan doesn't need a second invitation to get up the inside of Gary 131 and back into the lead of this race. And Leon Fernie sticking with the leaders is right on the tail now. With Smithy ahead of Forsey. And I think Leon Fernie got in a bit out of shape coming under the tunnel, because Smithy there then is very slow. Yellow flag sector 3. That is Smokey, who's gone straight on under the tunnel and has lost all his wing. That will be a pit stop for Smokey Devil, unfortunately for him. Tibbs trying to get on the back of this battle of Forsey and A. Smith. Forsey's had a real good start from the back of the pack, absolutely charging through the field at the minute. Needs to keep his team in this constructors fight, and will need to stay top 4 in the championship, because Smithy trying to hunt him down. Leon Fernie's lost a bit of ground to the front two, who are pretty much side by side, and Dan just leaves Gary enough room there. Gary once again is going to look around the outside. Dan this time has it covered early enough, and in the background look, A. Smith and Forsey. Forsey tucks back in, but with that slipstream, Gary goes to the outside. Is he going to think of a late send it up the inside? No. Nearly, though, goes into the back of an Orthodox there and actually loses more time than he gains through that part of the circuit. Now, I think, goes into the back of Dan. And definite contact made there. Forsey has got past Smithy, and now Tibbs can have a look at the back of A. Smith. So Gary losing out massive time to Dan already in this start of this second race. PN Smokey Devil still didn't pit at the end of that first lap. 34 laps here. So hopefully they'll make it in the time, allotted time zone that they have to get this race done. Dan from Gary, from Leon Fernie, from Forsey. All will have DRS on each other at the start of the next lap, provided they're within that second. Dan, Gary, who messed that up a little bit there, did Gary. And has just dropped out to DRS Ranger Dan now. Tell you what, I'd love a bit of rain to appear in this race, because that'd be fantastic. Gary is out of DRS Ranger Dan. I don't think DRS opens at this part of the lap anyway. But has Leon Fernie breathing down his neck, and Gary he's got no end plate. So Gary is going to make an early pit stop then. So the soft tyres would clearly get you 24 laps. He's at the hards. It's the super softs. There's no way they're getting to the end of this race. Gary, though, will try it, unless he's hoping for a safety car. Smokey Devil is going to also come in. So for Gary 131, he's down in 8th. And is away now. So it's Dan from Leon Fernie, who had DRS from Gary, but I don't think he would have activated at the start line one, so would have lost it from Dan, and now has the pressure of Forsey gaining on the back of him. Tibbs, the closest battle with him and A. Smith at the moment. Again, can only apologise for the lack of numbers here tonight. We will hope to have more drivers for Suzuka next week, the penultimate round of the season. Tibbs a bit of a wiggle on exit there. Tibbs just ducking and dodging and diving up and down under that DRS 1 second detection. Smokey's out the pits, Gary's out the pits. Gary's 25 seconds off the back of PN Motorsport. And for Tibbs, he did not get DRS there, so he's got to wait to that start line. Forsey, though, he's within the DRS range of Leon Fernie now. And Forsey here, making sure that he has got everything under control, making sure that everything is going to go the way he wants it to go. Let's go, Tibbs, says Beastie in the chat. Nice to see from Beastie. Nice to hear from Beastie again. As Dan, another fastest lap of the race. For Forsey, though, he's lost time to Leon Fernie as he's out of that DRS range again. Still the closest fight with this man on the track at the minute. And has Dan made a mistake there? Because he's very, very slow. Oh, he has. He's had a bit of a wiggle. Just looking at his stream to the left of me, he's had a bit of a wiggle. Who's in the wall? Tibbs. Tibbs has made a mistake. Tibbs is 16 years old, according to Tracy, and a badass in the chat. Well, it's great to see the youngsters taking part. Tibbs has had a moment, and now has Craigie and PN gaining on him. And Leon Fernie now within DRS range of unorthodox. So for Leon Fernie, this could get a bit interesting. We'll have a DRS zone coming up in just a moment, and we'll really fancy his chances against unorthodox, you'd think, here. Oh, try not to go too deep within that second. Dan had a bit of a wiggle on entry to the corner as well. Now Leon Fernie, DRS wide open, and he's getting closer to unorthodox. Getting a lot closer to unorthodox. And Leon Fernie here could sniff his first race win at Simplay Motorsport. Second place last week in the feature race at Canada, and potentially could be a first-time race winner. Little deep there, but just holds it all together. This is also allowing him to pull away from Forsey. He's got 2 seconds to Smithy, and Smithy covered from Tibbs in the background after Tibbs made a mistake. Leon Fernie, not the best of last sectors, but will still have that crucial DRS over unorthodox. Very wide at the final corner. Leon Fernie, though, fastest lap. The only man who's had DRS yet. Fastest lap of the race. And gains a little bit on Dan with that DRS through the final corner then. Goes through the detection point now. Dan's pulled some more 2 tenths clear of Leon Fernie, but Leon Fernie will once again have DRS on unorthodox. Leon Fernie actually made time through that corner there. DRS wide open. And let's see how quick Leon Fernie gets onto the back of Dan here then. Gains a couple of tenths, 3 tenths as they hit the brakes. 2 tenths as they hit the brakes. Gary now fastest lap on his super softs. Dan ahead of Leon Fernie, 7 tenths of a second. Leon Fernie just needs a good sector here. Stay within that DRS range of unorthodox. Dan's going to start to sweat a little bit. This is the only battle on track at the minute. PN trying to close onto the back of Craigie. And with Leon Fernie having DRS over unorthodox, it just means that Forsey can't do anything about it. Leon Fernie again goes back up to 8 tenths and gets the gap back down to 6 tenths under the brakes with that DRS. Now stick with Dan as much as possible. Get a better run through this last sector, and this will really help you in terms of that final bit. He's actually gained a little bit on Dan there. Leon Fernie just needs to nail every sector here. Again, apologies for the poor showing in drivers tonight, chat. We hope to have everybody back next week. Join Dan Davis, though, live Thursday, 8 p.m. BST, for a full 20-car grid, we do believe at the minute. At least 8 have confirmed so far. And we've got until Thursday night to confirm more drivers for that one. Bit of a wiggle for Dan. Now through the first corner, Leon Fernie had DRS once again and will get DRS for the next detection zone. And he's only 7/10 off the back of Dan. If he can get that under 6/10, he tries, you know. He's got it under 7/10. A bit of a bounce off the wall. That's compromised his run. And Dan extends that gap. He needed to be a bit better through that corner. He'll definitely gain on Dan here. Pulls a 10th and a bit. Gary, once again, fastest lap of the race. He's got some race to stretch them tyres all the way. Unless he's thinking of getting his tyres through this pit stop now. And then get his softs back on at the end. As Leon Fernie now outside of DRS range to Dan. So that little tap on the wall has really cost him. And he's gone through the detection point here and was outside a second. So for Dan, no DRS worries of Leon Fernie here, look. Nothing to complain about so far. Forsey on his own in P3. Smithy on his own in P4. Tibbs coming through over the bridge on his own in P5. Craig, he's on his own in P6. But that man behind him, PN Motorsport, will definitely try and make things a little difficult. The man who's on a charge, though, at the minute, is this man here. Fastest lap from fastest lap without the assistance of DRS. So far, so good if you're an Orthodox. You are another step closer to that championship. 74 points left up for the title after this race, including this race. 100 points exactly left up for the title. So Jamie and Gary still firmly in it, as is Forsey. But Forsey's got to finish ahead of Dan. If Forsey fails to finish in front of Dan, it will not be anymore. And what has happened to Unorthodox? He's in the wall. He's had a spin at turn 1 and he's in the wall. Somehow has no damage from that. PN's in the pits. So Gary will sail through. But for Unorthodox here, that was Craig, he just had a moment there, or was it Tibbs? I'm not quite sure. But Gary through, PN having a wing change as well. So where's Smokey? Not close enough. But Leon Fernie from Forsey is the race lead at the minute. Dan has had a moment. And this put in Forsey and Leon Fernie. Leon Fernie some 5 seconds up the road from Dan now. And Smithy was nearly on the back of him in DRS range. Isn't close enough. Dan, I don't believe, had wing damage. No, that wing looks in full tact still. That's twice he's had a wiggle at turn 1. And he's just starting to gap Smithy once again. But this man never won a race here at Simplay Motorsport. This will be his race number 36. Race start 36 for him. Never had a win to his name. Is tonight going to be the night for Leon Fernie? Forsey. Has Forsey had a win to his name? I think he might have. Yes, Forsey has had a win to his name. First race of the season, that's right. Only 13 appearances for Forsey. But this man, 36th appearance this race, in the lead. Dan 1.9 off the back of Forsey. Now he's cleared the gap of A. Smith. Gary, 6 seconds to Craigie at the moment. So Gary 131, 6 seconds off the back of Craig. Does have to use the other tyre. I think PN will as well. He might not actually, because I don't think PN pitted early on. As this man all alone, 5.8 the gap. Dan though is 1.5 off the back of Forsey. There's Dan in the background of Forsey. And it just feels like it's been the Dan and Gary show tonight, really. They're the only two who's made overtakes in this race. But hey, that's what we have to do. The drivers know what they've got to do. And Dan, 2.9 ahead of Smithy, just outside the DRS range of Forsey at the minute. will look to get within DRS range by the start line, you'd hope. Lap 8 of 34. No safety cars yet. We've still got all 9 drivers in the race, so that's great to see. PM 33 seconds off the back of Gary and 16 seconds up the road from Smoky Devil. All 9 of these drivers will score points, so for Smoky Devil here tonight, it'll be another point closer to Rabbit Joe. For Leon Fernie, it'll be well in front of Rabbit Joe based off this at the minute. For Craig E, again, he'll be in front of Fury. For PN, he'll be ahead of Lucas Roth. Oh, who's that? Who's had a moment? Is that Leon Fernie? It is! Oh no, he's had a bit of wing damage as well and has messed it up under the bridge. Big wing damage for Leon Fernie here then. What a shame. He's going to keep it on track. So Forsey from Dan for the race lead. Leon Fernie pitted late and comes in. Where's this going to put him? We're going to stay. We'll just drop to Leon Fernie's pit stop. Tibbs has gone through for 4th. Craig E is going to come through for P5. Gary is going to come through for P6. Leon Fernie should be able to get his tyres to the very end. Here comes PN, nowhere near. So Leon Fernie, 7th place at the minute. Forsey then leads from unorthodox. Gary took his 2nd win of the season. The last time Gary won was Bahrain. The last time this man won was Bahrain. Lap 9 of 34. 16 people watching the stream. 12 likes at the minute. Guys, girls, hit that thumbs up button if you like what you see here. Apologies once again for the poor turnout. So do subscribe to the channel on Orthodox 16, aka Dan Davis, will be live Thursday night, 8 PM BST, with the ACC Round 3 at Paul Ricard. And we'll be back live in the F2, and hopefully at least 13 drivers on the grid next Sunday at Suzuka, 7:30 BST. Unorthodox, right on the back of Forsey now. No rain around at the minute. And for Forsey here, Gary's on the back of Craigie as well. But I don't think Gary's going to try any overtakes at this part of the track unless he looks to send one under the bridge. No. To Dan. Forsey, weaving all over the place. We don't like that. And Forsey keeps hold of that race lead for the time being. Back to Gary. He'll have DRS down the start straight. We'll keep our eyes on the Dan and Forsey battle. Dan will have DRS on Forsey at this next part. Craigie very wide in Gary. Thank you, Mama, for the carrots, he says. Now, can Dan thank his Mama for the carrots? As Forsey will defend that inside line. Comes back across, gives Dan a car's width on the outside of Forsey. Will keep hold of that. Dan tries to tuck underneath, and Forsey brilliantly parks one on the apex and says, nah, try again later on Orthodox 16. So Forsey from Dan. Craigie now a 2.5 seconds behind Gary already. Gary up to P5. What a battle this is for the lead. Dan wanting to pull that even further clear of Big Boy Brazier that Jamie cannot win the championship. Forsey here, driving brilliantly at the moment. Really is putting in some good laps. Dan just trying to get on the back of him, trying to hassle him, but can't. Gary, 2.9 to Tibbs. Good evening to Peaceful Stepdad. Hope you're well, buddy. As Dan really sticking to the back of Forsey here. Now, we know the soft tyre will get you 24 laps. There's not been a safety car yet. Everybody very strung out here at the moment. So if someone was to crash, there would be a safety car. You'd imagine. On board Forsey, we can't see where Dan is, but he's not up the inside because Forsey's turning into the apex. Now the camera pans out. We look at Forsey and Dan once again. Dan just looks a little further back than last time. Now that's a better camera shot. DRS open for Dan. Let's see how quick Dan catches here. It's not going to be quick enough unless he thinks of sending one into turn one, which he doesn't. Forsey continues on his way. Leon Fernie, fastest lap of the race. Great to see. He's only 8 seconds off the back of Craigie then. As Forsey driving a fantastic race here. Dan now, though, through that little section there, gets right onto the back of Forsey. And Dan has to get out of that one with Forsey there. Just compromises his run a little bit as he, instead of going into the back of Forsey, forced himself a little wide. Tibbs for the win, says Tracy. Loving the optimism. Dan, no DRS on Forsey at the minute. Gary, 4 tenths off the back of Tibbs with 3-lap younger super softs compared to Tibbs' the softs. So Gary's tyres will die a lot quicker as that rear wing opens. Tibbs pulls to the right-hand side. Gary is going to look up the inside and thinks better of it for this time round at the moment. Dan to Tibbs, 3 tenths of a second. That's coming up to the final corner. Smithy all alone has his Tibbs. Tibbs has got Gary 131 breathing down his neck here. And is Gary going to look up the inside under the bridge? Tell you what, that's a brave place to overtake. And Gary is a brave man. Job done, Gary 131. Unorthodox cannot get it done into turn one. Oh, Dan, very wide, nearly into the wall. That's cost him a couple of tenths. So the gap, Gary to Smithy now, 14 seconds. As Gary just crosses the line start, lap 12 of 34. So Gary is 20 seconds off of this fight, and these have got to pit. But I think so does Gary. Dan just closing that gap a little bit more. Leon Fernie now within 3.5 seconds of Craigie. PN 24 behind Leon. And he's 30, Smoky Devil 35 behind him. These two will be lapping Smoky Devil soon. No safety cars in this second race as yet. And Forsey then has Dan right on the back of him, pushing him through the corner. And Dan is as close as he's been yet. This is a shorter DRS zone though. Forsey defends. And Dan comes to across and Forsey gives him the space. And Dan still patiently having to wait. On board Dan. And is that an opening from Forsey to Dan there? Dan thought about it, but just couldn't get the power down without driving into Forsey there, so backed out of it. Gary's already took 4 seconds out of Smithy's time, which means he's already took 4 seconds out of these two's time because these two are not gapping Smithy. Dan is going to go for the undercut then. So Dan is in. That's early for Dan. That seems very early for that soft tyre. Smithy, though, goes in to P2. The question will be, this man, I think, will get ahead of Unorthodox. Dan's now away. Gary will be flat out through this last corner, bit wide. Down the start straight he comes. Dan has been overtaken by Gary. Dan's not yet off the limiter. Tibbs gets past Dan. Dan now off the limiter. And Tibbs has long gone. Craigie and Leon Fernie having a little scrap. So Dan on them fresh super softs will go for the fastest lap of the race. Leon Fernie looking up the inside of Craigie. Job done. Great move, Leon Fernie. And he's 2 seconds off the back of Dan now, so can resume his fight with Dan from earlier. PN, the solo, Pramer and Smoky Devil not having their best of nights. Forsey from Smithy, 8.1. With Forsey having no pressure, he's actually gapped Smithy by a second. Are we going to see Forsey come in the pits this time around? That's the biggest question. Will Forsey react to Dan? Again, would just love to apologise for the lack of people here tonight. Hopefully we have a better grid and a better turn up next Sunday night. As Forsey then leads this race 8 seconds clear of Smithy. Does Forsey react to the pit stop Dan has just made? I don't think he's going to. No, he's going to carry on his way. He's gapped Smithy by nearly 2 seconds this lap. So without the pressure of Dan, he has gapped Smithy. Tibbs now coming under pressure from unorthodox. So Dan being consistent in keeping that gap clear of Leon Fernie. And it just seems to be that everywhere we're looking tonight, it is unorthodox who's in the thick of things, either him or Dan. Smithy has chose to pit. In he comes. Super Softs will go on. Tibbs and Dan, though, will get through. That is no surprise. Away goes Smithy. Here comes Tibbs and Dan. I tell you what, Leon Fernie and Craig E could be in for a shout to get him past A. Smith here. So Gary, 18 seconds off the lead as A. Smith comes out the pits, right behind Craig E. So Smithy's got work to do. Dan and Tibbs are now having a dance. And Dan trucks underneath Tibbs. Oh, a big wiggle. And well saved from not putting it in the side of Dan and not burying it in a wall himself. Tibbs, what a save that was from him. Tibbs still has to pit in this race, let's not forget. But Dan is through. And back into P3 and 7 seconds off the back of Gary 131. But Dan tonight has made mistakes. Let's not forget that one. This man will be quick compared to Craig E at the moment. I think Craig E has just hit the wall. He's got front wing damage. So is Craig struggling and needing to get into the pit? He stays out wide and Smithy will go through. Job done, A. Smith. P6 for you. Leon Fernie now getting within a second of Tibbs. Tibbs has got wing damage and is on old soft tyres. Leon Fernie on fresh or fresher super softs. Leon Fernie now coming under the bridge within that time of a second to Tibbs. We'll go back to him in a minute because Forsey's coming in. He's away. Forsey is away. Gary will get past Forsey. Forsey going to be off the limiter in a moment. Where's Dan? He's done the fastest lap. Here comes Dan. Goes past Forsey now. And as the undercut for unorthodox has worked. By some margin. Tibbs in the pits. So Smithy will get that place. Craig E will as well because he's not pitted yet. Can PN get on the back of Tibbs? He's a bit further back. So Gary leads this race 5 seconds to Dan. And I think Gary's got to pit. I think Gary has to pit again. Yellow flag, sector 3. PM Motorsport's out. And it's a safety car. So PN Motorsport, a chance at good points, will only come away with 9th place. What a shame for him. So he will go ahead of Lucas Roth, but what a shame. What a shame for PN. A chance at good points tonight. His car's gone, so we can't see what happens here. Now then, Gary. Leon Fernie's close to the back of Forsey. Gary here. Is he going to pit? That's the biggest question. Stupid pit lane, says PN. So PN had a problem in the pit lane. Smoky Devil in the pits. He's coming. Will Gary box? He's going to. So Gary will pit here then. So Gary in, Dan will lead. Forsey will be second place. Leon Fernie will be up back onto the podium. Smithy may be a bit too far behind to get his teammate. Gary going on fresh super softs again. So did 11 laps. And we'll go on to fresher super softs behind the safety car than on orthodox. Where is Smithy? Smithy will get past. Craigie will pit. Great opportunity this for Craig with Tibbs quite a way behind. So let's keep an eye on Craigie's pits. Smithy, and that's Gary coming out. Jamie Brazier saying that he's only just got home. Let's look at the pickup on Craigie's tyres. Tibbs looks like he will get past Craigie. Smoky Devil will not. Smoky Devil going to be a bit of a cork in the road. He's behind the top three, which means for Smithy and Gary, he's going to be in the way of. So Craigie will be the car we're waiting on to catch the pack. $14 people currently watching. Guys, girls, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. And again, apologies for the poor turnout tonight. Lap 16 of 34, so this could put a dampener as well on the time limit of this race. We lost 2 laps in the first race. We may lose some laps here. We are going to go again, another lap. Tibbs is some 27 seconds off the pack. Craigie is is an extra 9. As the pack come through turns 1, 2 and 3, Tibbs comes down the start straight. 20 seconds that gap now. So 26 seconds Craig is off the back of the pack and he flies down the straight as they come down the first DRS zone. And now Tibbs is just about to start to see the pack, I reckon. Might not because of this little bend. So there you can see Tibbs gaining on the pack. We're just waiting for Craigie. Hopefully this will mean then that the safety car comes in this lap. King in the chat, this is console, this is PS4, PS5, buddy. Craigie within some 5 seconds, so will the safety car decide late here that it's going to come in? It will. So we will go racing in just a moment. Again, just before the start of the restart, apologies to the chat, the guys and girls watching the stream, for a lack of drivers tonight. We hopefully will have a better showing next week. Here we go. Dan then goes now and has already left behind Forsey and Leon Fernie, Gary and A. Smith. Gary's had to give that place back, which has compromised his run, and Tibbs takes a place from Gary. Gary's going to come back at Tibbs into turn one, lunges up the inside. Gary back in front of Tibbs. And Smoky Devil needs to get out of the way of these lap cars. Where is he? Staying to one side. And Smoky Devil is now a lap down on the whole pack, nearly Bar Craig. As that is Gary going up the inside of A. Smith, and another thank you mama for the carrots moment. Job done. 2.3 off the back of Leon Fernie, as this man really trying to pressure the back of Forsey here. Tibbs looking on the back of Smithy as well. We'll just go down to this. A little deep from Tibbs there. No DRS, don't forget, for 3 laps. So Tibbs has got to do it all himself if he wants to get past Smithy. 6th place at the minute. So some good points here. He'll go up the standings as well. The 6th place will give him a good 8 points here. And he's already on 4, so it'll put him into double figures. That'll put him ahead of Sooty Apex and Bozzy Boy, and close to the back of DJ Phil Green. So if he gets Smithy, gets up to P5, you never know what will happen. Gary now within a second of Leon Fernie, no DRS. So Tibbs gaining on the back of A. Smith, and is he going to have a look into turn 1? He's going to think about it. No, patiently waits. 2 tenths the gap between these two. Tibbs, a wise head on young shoulders. Bad luck PM, says Mother Davis in the chat. Come on Gary, says Jamie. It's Gary 1-3-1 right on the back of Leon Fernie, just ahead of this Tibbs and Smithy battle. And Tibbs here now looks to the inside, gets a good run. He's going to be up the inside of Smithy, and Smithy tries to turn in but can't, and Tibbs up into P5. Gary now. Tibbs had a wiggle on exit, just saw in the background. Smithy tried to get back through, couldn't do the job. Gary now though 2 tenths on the back of Leon Fernie. Dan just stretching a gap out front to Forsey. Leon Fernie's gone a little deep. That'll make Gary interested. Pulls out now, but only has a look. Will he look to send it up the inside? He's going to, you know, and Leon Fernie gives him the room and respect. And they both get through there just about. Great racing from these two. There's Forsey, there's Leon Fernie, there's Gary. 5 seconds behind Dan already, and Gary's going to look up the inside into the bridge. And Leon Fernie again spots Gary's there, and a great manoeuvre. Thank you, Mama, for the carrots. No rain as yet. Will there be any later in the race? That's the question. Dan, fastest lap. Let's go, says Beastie. Great race. Come on, Tibbs, says Tracy in the chat. Well, Tibbs now within half a second of Leon Fernie. A P4 maybe on the cards. Leon Fernie's tyres have done 10 laps. And now Tibbs looking very racy here in this feature race. Right on the back of Leon Fernie now. So we've only lost PM Motorsport. who will go above Lucas Roth in the standings tonight, but no rain forecast at PN on the game. What he has done, he's got Pramer a little closer to calling, but that's without Dan scoring yet. For this man, DRS will be open next time around, and he is Leon Fernie, tapped the wall there. Oh, he's off! Big off! And Leon Fernie gets going, but down in P6. So Tibbs put Leon Fernie under enough pressure that he made the mistake. This man now catching Forsey. And Gary is flying at the minute, isn't he? Really on a charge. Craigie on the back of Leon Fernie then. Leon Fernie, some wing damage. Not that much, just an end plate. His mother David saying, come on Dan, and PN saying, I think I peaked in the sprint race. Gary, Craig and Smokey have the freshest tyres. Is that A. Smith with a bit of wing damage? No, was it Tibbs? No. So has Leon Fernie damaged the other end plate now? Yes, it was. It was Leon Fernie's end. So for Craig here, more points and places up for grabs. Gap Gary to Forsey down to 1.1 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that. Don't forget DRS is activated this lap, so Craig E will have DRS on Leon Fernie. As Leon just struggling through this section. Oh, in the wall! Oh, badly! And Craig E goes through. Gary, just under a second now to Forsey, so he's getting within that DRS zone. He's still just under 5 seconds to Dan. Gary's tyres 3 laps younger than Dan's. Rear wing opens up for Gary here then. Gary's tyres only a lap younger than Forsey, so they're going to be in the same ballpark of these two. But with that 1 lap younger, you feel that Gary's got the momentum on his side. Leon Fernie 7th place, he's in the pits. So Smoky Devil has unlapped himself. And will close to the back of Leon Fernie here, but he's not going to be nowhere near by the time Leon Fernie gets going. Tibbs, excuse me, up in 4th place with A. Smith in 5th. Leon Fernie back onto the softs. He's coming out the pit lane. That might not be the worst tyre here. There's Gary right on the back of Forsey then. And DRS opens now for Gary 131. And I tell you what, is very close. Close enough to have a look. Doesn't. Might do though on the exit. Gap just over 5 seconds to Dan now for Gary. Needs to clear Forsey. He's made a move on Leon Fernie up here. Will he look to do the same to Forsey? No. This, the closest battle on track at the moment. And Gary 131 doing a stellar job. Now Forsey pulls to the inside line. as Gary is going to look to go up the inside on the cutback. Can he just get a nose up that inside? Forzie's had to go a little wider, and that does allow Gary 131, you see there then, to go through. Job done. 6.3 to his championship rival. Can he now hunt him down? Forzie will try and come back at Gary here with DRS. He's going to look up the inside. Gary made sure he covered that one off. Now there's a VSC. What has happened? I'm not quite sure here. But Gary's been let off of DRS. Thanks, Tracy, for the comments, for the awesome commentary. So fun to watch. Thank you very much. But Gary, no DRS for Forzie, will be let off here then. Now, if this VSC lasts a little longer, would Dan change tyres? We've lost Leon Fernie. So Leon Fernie is out this race. DRS has been enabled. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. So we're not going to a full safety car. But for Leon Fernie, what a shame, as he will finish 8th place again here. It will be 4 more points. And it will put him ahead of Rabbit Joe and just on the back of Fury. Gary, though, managed to get a bit further in front of Forzie there then. So yellow flag's cleared up. No safety car here in this race. Leon's hit the wall, says PN, so he's still in watching. So we have lost Leon Fernie then. 8th place it will be for him because Smoky Devil will get through. And Dan did not pit. Now I think Dan could have got away with pitting there and putting some fresh soap and softs on. Gary still has Forzie, being a bit of a nuisance at the moment in that DRS range. Gary has that gap at 6.5 to unorthodox. Dan doing everything in his power to stay in front. Gary is some 21 points, I do believe, behind Big Boy Brazier. Yep, 21 points behind Big Boy Brazier. Who's got the fastest lap? It is Dan. So if Gary gets the fastest lap of the race, Gary and Jamie will be tied going into Suzuka next week. Gary just now has broke the DRS train to Forzie, and he's now 6.3 ahead. Behind unorthodox. 6.6 that goes up to now. Gary's tyres are a lot younger than Dan's, and I wonder if Dan will get his tyres to the end. Was Gary right to pit under the safety car? .4 the gap. Smithy's in the pits. Now what's happened to Smithy? Is there a front wing there? No. So is Smithy just feeling the need to change his tyres then? Or are his tyres going off a bit? Craig goes up into P5. Smoky Devil's too far back, so Smithy's only going to lose out to Craig E. Dan there, well, check out the gears in check. We've not seen much of Dan in this race. 6.5 in front. Craig E's had a bit of a quiet night as well. Smoky Devil lap down, but up into P7 after Leon Fernie had that crash. Smithy's just ahead of him. That's a shame that it's not for position for Smoky Devil. I'm sure he'd have loved to have had a good fight for P6 coming into the back quarter, back third of this race. 25 of 34. Dan from Gary from Forsey just started to gap him. Tibbs, great night for him tonight. Craigie, Smithy, Smoky Devil. On board Dan. No rain around. Will we get to the end of this race? That's the question. There's Dan, 6.3 to Gary. So Gary just slowly chipping away here. What's the lap time going to be for Unorthodox? Crosses line of 53.7. Gary is going to pit. Now that to me makes no sense. Forsey is also in the pits. So this man's also in the pits. So Craigie here. Gary and Forsey are away. Craigie could be, you know. He's second place. Forsey and Tibbs, fresh super softs, as is Smithy. Gary back on the soft. Now I don't get this, but Dan has a free pit stop. Smithy back in this one, side by side with Tibbs, look, as they come through turn one. Great little fight between the two. Tibbs a little squirrely on the throttle on the exit of the corner, and Smithy through. Tibbs has got some work to do to get back ahead of Smithy. Gary had to go back to the softs for the tyre roll as Tibbs back up the inside of A. Smith. And that is job done. Great move from Tibbs there. Smithy back up the inside of Tibbs. Tibbs trying to get back at Smithy. This is a cracking little battle now. This Tibbs is going to look to the outside. And will now just patiently wait for A. Smith to come through. Tibbs will have DRS down this section. Dan in the pits. Free pit stop for him. Why not? Tibbs with DRS. Is he going to send one up the inside of Smithy? He does. And he's overshot it by a mile. What a shame for Tibbs. Dan, free pit stop. Away he goes. As Gary only did 3 or so laps on them soft tyres. Craigie. He's now going to pit. Okay, so Craig's going to come in. Dan has pitted and is out the pit lane now. Gary only just coming around the final corner. So I'd say it's as we was. The difference is Dan has fresh super softs and Gary doesn't. Back to this fight, because Tibbs once again on the back of Smithy. They both get past Craigie, who's in the pits. And here comes Tibbs then, really putting the pressure on A. Smith. Just losing a bit of momentum through them couple of corners. DRS open. Under half a second to Smithy. Now it's under 4/10 to Smithy. Close to 3/10. Is he going to send one? No. Got the gap to 0.284. So Tibbs is really coming here. Tibbs late on the brakes, tries to get it stopped and does so. Will once again, though, have DRS on Smithy, but just got a bit of a pull run out the corner as he was so late on the brakes. Here comes Tibbs, though. Gap down to half a second. He's just got to brake a little earlier and be a bit more patient, I think, as Tibbs here. Just got to play the waiting game. Very close to Smithy. Forsey might get Gary in this race because of Gary's tyre choice. Although Gary will be stronger than Forsey at the end of the race. Tibbs right on the back of A. Smith. This is for P4 as well, by the way. Great display from these two. Lap 28 of 34. Dan from Gary from Forsey. A. Smith and exit Tibbs. As Smith, very wide there, rejoins the track. Tibbs looking left, right. Now pulls out to look up the inside at turn 1. And that is job done. Great manoeuvre, Tibbs. But you have to say this fight's not done, because Smithy now will have the DRS for after this corner. Tibbs a little wiggle as well, so that's going to compromise his run. And here comes Smithy then. Is he going to think of sending one? No, he's just not close enough to Tibbs. So Tibbs will stay in front on board. Smithy now, who clouts the wall. Lap 28 of 34. We will be pushing this for time at the end. But if you're unorthodox, you've had a pretty solid night. With no big boy Brazier around. I think this has been a night that you can turn around and take full advantage of the points you've scored. You've lost 5 to Gary at the moment. Huge, says Beastie Gaming in the chat. Tibbs now just pulling away from Smithy ever so slightly. 40 to Gary has stayed at that 2-second mark. Now ducks under it. So is Forsey starting to come at Gary 131. Sweet, says Tracy. We'll go back to the Tibbs-Smithy battle a little later on. Is Forsey coming at Gary here? Dan, fastest lap of the race for him, a 52.1. Forsey will want this P2. He'll want to take P2 away from Gary. Smithy's lost a couple more tenths to Tibbs. Will have still be in that DRS range though. Back to this battle, Tibbs and Smithy. Again, apologies for the lack of drivers tonight, the lack of entertainment out there, due to drivers not being able to make this evening. We still wanted to put on a show for you guys. Come on, Tibbs, says Tracy in the chat. Lap 29 of 34, 5 laps to go in this race. You have to say, for an orthodox, he had some scares in the first half of this race. Has done well to not put it in a wall, not crash out, and to keep going. He's 10 seconds clear of Gary. Beastie, he has to hang on to 4th. I don't think he can catch 4s, but he can defend. I agree with you there, Beastie. Driver of the day poll going out for who you feel is driver of the day. As Smithy now, as my game.
Getting hype when I aim up. Elevating that game up. Stepping up to the competition. Only first place, yeah, that's how I'm living. I'm with it till they digging up my grave. Eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate. Watch me elevate.
game. If I had, I probably would.
Yeah. All in when I show up. Whole place about to blow up. Superior to that competition.
Oh, DJ Phil's not racing.
I'm in first place, yeah, that's how I'm living. I'm winning till they digging up my grave. Eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up in the place. I was born and when I watched me elevate.
I'm streaming, she shut up.
When I watch me elevate. I was born to win, I watch me elevate.
I will be on mute though.
Welcome back then to Simplay Motorsport, as we are back here then for the back half of this race. Apologies for that. This is brought to you live from PM Motorsport's Twitch stream, so apologies about that, but we are back live in this one and we are good to go here. The final positions will still be seen BST Gaming. We are back live with you. Apologies for that slight delay. My game crashed on my end. Gary131 currently getting the vote of driver of the day.
Gary's left the session.
And Gary, what has happened there? He's left the session. He's got a 20-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. In fact, the race is done. The race is done. Dan has crossed the line and finished the race. Smithy has now left the session. He's fourth. So what has happened to Gary there? Either way, Unorthodox has won this race and took the fastest lap, which means Forsey then would have been second place. Then it's Exit Tibbs on the podium. Pian, if you can hear me, try and get Dan in and we'll have a quick chat with Dan, and Dan only... seventh, which means the current championship standings look a little like this. I think we've got Dan, who's going to join us in the party. Yes, we have got him coming in. And the championship standings look a little like this, then, ladies and gentlemen. Unorthodox 53 points clear of Big Boy Brazier, 64 to Gary131. Dan can win the title next week. Forsey 123 back with A. Smith in 5th. PM Motorsport 6th place ahead of Lucas Roth in 7th. Mazda down in 8th. Craig E 9th ahead of Fury. Leon Fernie now ahead of Rabbit Joe. Smokey Devil on the back of Rabbit Joe. And then DJ Phil has Exit Tibbs now right on the back of him by a couple of points. Carlin 48 clear of Pramer. They can't win the Constructors next week. It will take them till Australia at the final race. We've got Dan in. We're only going to have a brief word with Dan. Dan, good night for yourself. Not driver of the day. That's gone the way of Gary from the chat. But a win and a podium in the first race.
Yeah, I wasn't too pleased about the first race, but nonetheless, a win for race 2 is what we need, and gets me closer to the championship. You lot can finally stop giving me grief about not winning anything to begin with GT.
Bit of a dull night tonight, but you did the job you had to do, though.
Oh man, it was definitely not a dull night. This was hard, man. This was hard. The wet conditions in race 1, the tyres were horrid. They just kept graining and getting worse. Plus the heat in the room as well. It was just a nightmare of a race. Horrible.
Oh, well, good night for yourself tonight. Fantastic on the race win and the podium in race 1, and some brilliant saves in race 1 that we got on stream as well in the wet weather. So well done on that. Dan can wrap the title up next week. Dan will also be live with you Thursday night, where, let me tell you, there is at least 19 drivers turning up on Thursday night, so we should have a full grid. Apologies again for tonight, and we hope to have at least 13, 14 drivers on the grid next Sunday at Suzuka, before we have a week break, and then the final round week break, because myself and the broadcast team are away in Switzerland working that weekend. So Dan will be live Thursday night, 8 p.m. BST, ACC for the third round at the circuit Paul Ricard. No radicals Tuesday night. That car is going to be chopped and changed, but there will be a series coming very soon. Keep your eyes out on the social media and on Discord for what will happen there. But from all of us here at Simplay Motorsport, take care. Good night.